my name is Kehlani Willington, and today I'm going to be talking about gender norms. So, what is gender norms?
It's us.
Okay. Anyone want to start first or? Okay, or go ahead.
I'll start. When I think of gender norms, I just think it's like typical portrayals or kind of like typical behavior seen within, I guess, certain gender types. So like, male and female. So like, very stereotypical, but females are seen to be more very feminine presenting. They like girlish stuff like makeup, nails, stuff like that. While men, stereotypically, it's like, oh, they're into sports or buff, and they're like
Grind.
yeah, they're like masculine stuff, quote unquote.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the things about like gender norms is just that typically a lot of things that are like associated with female things are things that are like very dainty and fragile and like just not things that bend, but with men it's something that's strong, it's stable, and it's like and I think that has a lot to do with like maybe misogyny, but that's just that's what I know about like gender stereotypes and like things like that.
Yeah.
Allie?
What you guys said, and also, well, yeah.
Good job.
Thanks.
So proud.
So, just the stereotypical views within like women and men. So, like what Deja said, being very feminine, somewhat like sometimes like really sexual or like sexy, having like those beauty standards within women, and then also with men being muscular, being sports, like they have that like that one type of emotion they always express, kind of just like somewhat monotone, I guess. Something like that. Like, what is gender norms? Gender norms or the portrayal is the basic and stereotypical looks and behaviors and principles with one's gender, especially towards men and women. So basically what everyone said. So what do you guys think are like bad portrayals with gender norms with men and women?
More comics. The ones that are just like, oh, my wife is always so nagging and stuff like that, and then the husband, he's either really stupid, but he also just like wants to sew his wife's mouth shut.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be funny, but it's not. It kind of just portrays women in that typical light of just being like, nagging, and it portrays men in the light of being stupid and unhygienic and things like that. Anyone else have any?
I would say in terms of, I guess, talking about women in particular, I feel like we see a lot more like stereotypical and horrible like portrayals in that way, because we see characters that are often like hyper feminine, and it's weird. We could probably talk about this later, but there's a weird, like, I guess, demonization or just like kind of villainization of like hyperfemininity in like entertainment and films, where the character that tends to be like the most hyper feminine, so like they like pink, they like everything pink, stuff like that, they like nails, makeup, they like guys, all that other stuff, like they talk about guys all the time, those characters are typically villainized. And I think a good example of that is Mean Girls. I have not actually watched it, but I know that Mean Girls kind of does that with what's her name?
Regina George?
Yeah, Regina George. She's like hyper feminine, and then like the main character is kind of more like
I'm not like others.
Yeah.
like a tomboy.
Yeah.
As for men, I feel like we see like a lot of like I guess like toxic masculinity and like a lot of like hyper masculine. Like it's just like, oh, I'm buff, I like sports, I like beer, I like hanging out with the guys, on Saturday, a cold one with the boys kind of thing.
Saturdays are for the boys.
Yeah. Like,
and there's nothing wrong with hanging out with the boys, but
Yeah.
it's also like saying like, oh yeah, women suck, I only hang out with my boys, it's like
Yeah.
you don't have to like put women down to bring your boys up,
And I also feel like there's like a typical like flirtatious machismo mentality a little bit. Like the machismo, for those who don't know, is kind of just like the guy that's like super masculine and like doesn't obey to rules or whatever, feels like he can pull like any girl he wants. And so it's kind of like, he's like, I don't know, like the epitome of like those. I can't. Can I? No, I don't think I could say it. You want me to say? Okay. Like a douche, basically.
Yeah.
Like basically the definition of like a douchebag. So yeah, that's what at least what bad representation. Or actually, I'm trying to think of one for women too. Oh, like super like sensitive and like emotional. Like there's nothing wrong with being like super emotional. Trust me, I'm super emotional.
Yeah.
But there's like nothing wrong with being like emotional and stuff like that. But it's
The only reason you're emotional is because you're a woman.
it's like it's so commonly portrayed that like, oh, she's like just overreacting, oh, you're just being like dramatic and stuff like that, and not really taking into accountability that like, you know, people have feelings and women have feelings, you know.
Yeah,
stuff like that.
It's again with men where it's just like they're not allowed to show emotions without it being weak.
Yeah.
And that I think that's horrible. Imagine having to hide your emotions constantly. I get exhausted when I do it just for a little bit. And with men, the only emotion they're allowed to show is either anger or like not even like happiness. You ever see like a guy crying because he's so happy, or like a guy like, you know, doing this because he's excited? You know, shaking hands just when they're excited. No, because it's audio. Yeah, but no, that's seen as like weird. We never see that, and I think that's another thing where it's just like being vulnerable is like, you know.
Yeah, I agree. Ellie?
Well, I think bad representation of gender norms can also be seen, well, like specifically like in like if we're talking about cartoons and animation, like how characters are drawn.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like like Jessica Rabbit, and you know, a majority of the cast of Total Drama.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, cause their boobs are like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A great example of this, actually, there's something I've been thinking about a lot, is in the show Smiling Friends, where the guy characters, they really push the exaggeration. They make them, like, horribly and amazingly disfigured, and it's like, it's great, that's great character design. But with the women, they're just so normal. And I see that a lot in, like, like in design and like stories too, where the guys are the crazy ones, the guys are the, like the wacky ones, but the women are the straight ones. You know, they're perfectly normal. They're the straight men. You know, so it's like women aren't allowed to be that. And I think that kind of plays into like women aren't funny, that kind of thing, but which is like gross. You know, that's a bad. You know, that's another thing, which is like the visual representation of women.
And then also with Total Drama, when like you guys were talking about how like they play into the gender norms of talking about boys a lot and being overly sensitive. Like specifically in Total Drama, that's like Katie and Sadie.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because like, you know, they're matching, they're wearing pink, they're always fawning over certain boys.
Yeah,
I agree with the princess, but also I want to talk about like the effects of bad portrayals. So like a whole bunch of people see these like characters and like how they act, and they feel like somewhat inspired and like influenced by them, and so it can also affect like their thinking of like that saying like fiction affecting reality. With like boys seeing all these like male characters and be like, oh, I want to be just like that, masculine. It's just like it's like that toxic masculinity mindset sort of. Also the same with women, like, oh, she's all pretty and stuff like that. I want to be just like that. It's like also like straying away from like who they really want to be and just like being someone else, kind of. Should I talk about the bad examples maybe?
I was gonna add something.
Oh,
like a personal experience. I think I kind of felt that with like I guess hyper femininity, because when I was younger, I mean, still I like a lot. Like I like video games. I like, well, mainly with video games especially when I was younger. I knew a lot of like famous ones, and I hung out with a lot of guys. But I guess because I was kind of afraid to show that like, oh, I like masculine things, or typically masculine things, or like things that the guys like, I kind of lied to them all the time of like, oh, I don't know what Mario is, I don't know what Sonic is, I don't know what any of these things are. These video games, I don't know what they are, because I was kind of, I guess, feeling the effects of like, you have to be feminine, you are like, you're a girl, you have to be feminine, so you have to talk about things like boys, makeup, and all that other stuff. But I think by the time I was like in 4th or 5th grade, I had learned to kind of like drop the shtick. It's not worth it trying to change yourself to satisfy what others may think of you. And plus, the group of guys I was hanging out with didn't even care that I liked like typically masculine things, or like things like video games and sports. They did not care. So I guess it's just like a lot of like seeing like portrayal in media for women, like, oh, you have to be feminine and stuff like that. It just kind of like, I guess, affected me, and like I have to portray myself like that too. So that's my personal experience with that.
I mean, yeah, I grew up with like a lot of guys. Like my mom, she's like a nurse, so she's always busy. So that's like the only feminine like role model I had growing up. And she wasn't, so I was kind of like, my brothers are like who I was kind of around and influenced by. I was kind of just thinking that like, oh, and they were just like, oh, girl stuff is gross and weird and stuff like that. So like, yeah, yeah, girl stuff is gross and weird, and that's so disgusting. Who would even like that? So I would kind of just deny anything related to that, and because of that, I kind of never tried makeup to begin with. I never had that experimental phase of just even bothering with it, and now I'm just too afraid to like even try because everyone's so good at it now.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just growing up, I kind of just didn't touch it, and now I don't really want to touch it.
Yeah, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, I only got into makeup like last year, and I'm a high schooler, so well, we're all high schoolers, but like I could have. Oh my god, I'm a high schooler.
You're in high school? No.
Oh my god, I'm actually working at a 9 to 5 already. Like,
I already have a soon tie.
yeah, so if that makes you feel any better, and don't pressure yourself to try those kind of things, honestly. Like, if you don't want to try it, you don't have to. It's not like it's a requirement.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't get into it for the sake of like putting cool stuff on my face. I would get into it for like maybe trying to invert the shadows on my face to make it look like I'm like lit from another direction, just to make it weird.
Yeah.
I know, right? It just sounds awful.
For photography, that would work.
Yeah. Or just to walk around like that,
Yeah,
though.
just like walking around.
Imagine just walking around like that,
Don't you have to have a flashlight under you to like?
Hey,
yeah.
guys.
Or like removing the shadow from my face. That would be so funny and weird and gross and horrible.
You're just telling a ghost story. You're just like, hey guys, the ghost story's over. Why do you have the flashlight? You know why I have the flashlight on.
But yeah, I don't know.
It relates to like media and stuff. Well, like I kind of had like the same experience. Well, actually no, I went from basically tomboy to whoever I am now.
Mm-hmm.
Because like in movies and stuff, like they kind of always portrayed that like the tomboy girl is the one who becomes desirable in the end, and like you're at that impressionable age where well, for most girls, like you want guys to like you even though you're like 9, and in your prepubescent phase, like he told me I'm stupid.
Yeah.
But just like kind of like watching that all the time was like, oh, I have to be this way in order to feel wanted, which is like too much for an 8-year-old.
Oh yeah.
Very
like,
true.
And so like it's kind of just putting that pressure on like kids at like such a young age that they have to like look a certain way or be a certain way to be desired by someone. And I think that really influenced the way I thought about myself and like how people perceived me. And so I think that's like an example of what's like bad, or well, what is still bad, because like we're older and like we see things differently now. But like from like a younger person's perspective, like, oh, I have to be this way to get what I want.
Yeah. I just thought about this too. It's kind of weird how I feel like, did anybody like at a really young age try to make themselves look, I guess, like, not like, I guess, I don't want to say desirable because that's a minor, but
yeah.
like look desirable at a young age?
Like somewhat more
Adult.
Yeah, like
mature.
forcing yourself to like mature a little bit
Yeah.
to make yourself look more attractive. But I think now that I'm older, I'm like, that is awful.
Yeah.
And like we kind of like grow up with like that warped perception of like, oh, if you look more mature, then guys like that. Guys like a mature woman. And I'm like, you are 13.
Yeah.
If a guy that's like 24 comes up to you, like, oh my god, you're
Big
so
red
mature
flag,
for
red
your
flag, red
that's
flag,
a red
red
flag.
flag.
Not even 24, like
18 to a
18, 17, I don't care.
14-year-old.
That is a minor. Like,
child. Like,
I don't know. Maybe it's partially media, but I always like wanted to, like, I'm not saying that like I was like going out there, like trying to like flirt with guys and stuff like that, because I was way too scared to do any of that. but I feel like it was almost like kind of like a little bit of a pressure to like mature a little bit to make yourself look a little bit nicer to guys.
Colors and tiaras.
Yeah.
Colors and tiaras. Like the idea that as a young child, when the only thing that separates boys and girls at that age is like nothing.
Literally nothing.
Literally nothing. They look the exact same.
Mhm.
Genuinely. And the fact that like little girls are being forced to like dress up in this way and being, and I know like the whole parent thing is like, oh, they totally consent. They said so. But, like, that's a child.
Yeah.
That's a child. Why would you put makeup on a child? Like
Mhm.
don't.
That much makeup on a child.
Yeah, I mean, let children like put lipstick all over their face.
Yeah.
That's fine. But like genuine, like I can't imagine because I get tired like doing basic things, right?
Same.
I can't imagine how exhausted a young child would be trying to like with all these eyes on them, trying to live up to these beauty standards. I can't imagine the
Yeah.
amount of horrible,
Exactly.
Mm.
I
Big
just
yuck.
like it's like for me, I see those things and I'm like, that's awful because like you're teaching you're teaching little girls that are like 6, maybe even younger, that like beauty is what defines them. If you don't look attractive during these little pageants, you're nothing. It's horrible because I mean, I don't have a desire to have children when I get older and stuff like that. But if I do and I end up having like a daughter and stuff like that, I would never want to put her through that kind of pressure. Like
Yeah.
even like me and my mom talk about this sometimes. That's so much pressure on a little kid and like such a bad mindset to teach kids at a young age. Just like your beauty is what defines you. If you're not pretty, you're not worth it. You're not worthy.
Yeah.
And then also, this just feels sexual. Like,
Yep.
especially some of the outfits that they wear to the
Yeah.
pageants.
Oh,
I'm like,
yeah.
You mean the bikini section?
Yes.
That one's
You mean
I'm
the
like-
swimsuit?
I'm
Why
like,
would
that
you
is
get
a
so
That's a child.
like that is a child. Like, you never see this kind of stuff for like male children, which honestly is probably for the better.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying that. Like, it's not.
Like, which they shouldn't.
Yeah, which is true. That's good.
Like, they're like.
That's
Yeah.
another thing about like I don't mean to cut you off if you want to keep
It's
talking.
okay.
But it's like with men, it's just like whatever you're dealing with, it's not as bad as what other people are doing. You're kind of forced, like, well, I mean, I say you're like as if I'm not, but it's like males are forced to like completely hide that, right?
Mhm.
Especially this is something that I want to like. It's kind of a sensitive topic, right?
Mhm.
But when it comes to rape cases, so many men are just not believed, and it's like, oh well, like like or like if the women are just like, oh, but she was pretty, but it's just like,
Yeah.
What was she wearing?
oh yeah, no, but also like
Oh,
for
that's a
for
different
men,
one.
yeah.
What?
But no,
It's
that's
like-
also true. Like, how is like that does not make sense.
Yeah.
With the whole
Yeah.
what was she
How
wearing,
does a
It's
woman's
like
whoever the perpetrator was, how does their beauty excuse that? Like, it does
Yeah.
not make any sense. It's just like, yeah, but he or she was cute. Okay, the point is that I'm traumatized.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's like that. Yeah, big yikes on both cases. Just like of
Yeah. In that
Lucky.
aspect, I think was it Terry Crews? Was it him?
Something I don't know.
Terry Crews, he's like an actor. He spoke up about sexual assault like not too long ago because he's a victim of sexual assault.
Hmm.
And a lot of like both men and female were like coming after him like this is like, oh, grow up, you'll get over it. It's
Yeah,
just
like,
like, well,
it's
were
so
they pretty at
rude.
least? Keep in mind, he was sexually assaulted by a guy. But still, point being is like, don't be dismissive towards men about their feelings just because they're a guy, Like,
Yeah.
their feelings matter too. And I see that sometimes in like real life, seeing like people that are loved ones and people that are in my personal life. I see like how they're kind of hesitant to show their emotions towards people, kind of because of like, I guess like instilling from when they were a child of like, you're a guy, you're not supposed to speak up about your emotions. If you're sad, just repress it, you know?
Yeah.
Just be like, yeah, I'm not really doing good, but I'm not gonna show it. But anyways, going back to like toddlers and tiara thing, like the sexualization of that is just so disgusting. Like hearing sexualization in general about children is like enough to make me vomit. I also wanted to bring up My sister was talking about this with me, and I did not know this happened. It was very recent. This guy took his son to like a Hooters.
Ooh.
And this child is like, he's like 5, 8, something like that.
No.
He took them to a Hooters, and it's kind of like he does it with all his male children, where he kind of takes them to a Hooters and like wants them to like experience like, I guess, like an upbringing in like sexuality
Gross.
towards women. Like it's
Big
just
gross.
like you look at these women, you know,
Gross.
they're like, look at these women, see their big breasts and like butts and stuff like that, and they're like, it's just like, do you feel turned on by that?
What?
For real.
At 5?
I
A 5-year-old.
I'm not kidding. He was like, don't you feel turned on by that? Don't you have a boner or something like that?
What?
Yeah. It is vile. When my sister was telling me that, I was sick to my stomach. I was like, I hope whoever that father is in like whatever, like I think it was like Ohio or something, I don't know. I hope that you get arrested because, and
No,
I think he
genuinely.
did get. I really am hoping he got arrested because that, I don't care. That feels like grooming, like, and that's
Genuinely,
just
though.
awful. Really, like that's, you don't think that's pedophilia? Just like instilling like you want to get a sexual reaction out of a child.
That by itself is just disgusting.
Like really gross, and it doesn't even matter if it was a guy or a girl in this situation, but it's just so awful to see like how like they're trying to instill at a young age in men, just like you're supposed to get sexually turned on by these women. You see their boobs and butts. These people figure these out by themselves. What are y'all not understanding?
It's like those people who think that like someone like it will turn them straight or something, like turn them gay or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is just
like a form of conversion therapy?
Not necessarily.
Not
I guess
really.
like entertainment is usually where people see representation. So like
Yeah.
whether that be for POC, LGBTQ, disability.
I mean, I was talking about the Hooters thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
But like I had a point, I forgot it.
Well, like,
No cursing.
I wasn't trying. I'm trying to string together my words.
Yeah, just hearing that is so vile, and like you're trying to get a sexual reaction out of a child, and that's by itself already really disgusting. And it's like what I was going back about the entertainment thing, we see our representation through entertainment, and for a lot of people who don't live in diverse areas, this is usually how they see it. So it's like, for example, we live in LA.
Yeah.
And in LA, we're very diverse. We're a cultural mixing pot.
Yep.
So we tend to see like people of all different types of ethnicities, cultural backgrounds, like sexualities, disabilities, all that kind of stuff. But in say states that don't really have that much diversity and are like confined to like only like one type of person, you see that representation through entertainment. And I guess and then also family too. So I guess with these people, they're kind of like, well, if the media and my parents and my relatives are telling me like, oh, you gotta, go for the girl, being having an upbringing as a guy, like go for the girl, make sure that you like look nice and stuff like that, go ask the girl out or whatever. Like you're like, okay, I know that I have to be attracted to women, and I know that I have to do these things to talk to a woman, but is this the most safest and like best way to do it, kind of thing? And a lot of the time it's not. Especially with stereotypical gender norms and stuff like that, it's not. But yeah, just hearing that story, it made me sick to my stomach, and I'm like, I really hope he gets arrested or has this child taken away from him, because that is disgusting. Nobody should have to put their child through any kind of experience like that. Ugh.
Final thing, I just want to mention those shirts that they put on young boys, just like Lady Killer and things like that.
Yeah.
Those are just like, they expect such young boys to be so sexual. I guess that's kind of like the other side of the coin, where they expect women to be sexual objects, but they expect young boys to be like, I don't know, that kind of thing.
Yeah, like, oh, you're breaking hearts at a young age kind of thing. Like,
Young heartbreaker.
No. Literally though, that's what they put on shirts. It's so awful. Anyways, and then, I think we
that
should...
is a child.
Kaylani.
Oh,
Yeah.
I move into the bad examples. With
Yeah.
media.
Yeah.
So...
Perfect
So-
segue.
I have both for men and women, but I know one category that goes into both is Disney movies.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Wait, what type of Disney movies?
Um,
Like the ones in theaters or the DComs?
not the ones in theaters. Well,
Like princess movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
not the newer ones.
Princess
I know the newer
movies
ones.
No, no. When I mean like DComs, I mean like High School Musical, like the ones like that.
Oh, like
Oh.
straight to like DVD, straight to DVD, like
Yeah.
no theater.
Like straight, like only TV premiere.
I guess both.
Okay, so what were you gonna say about Disney movies? Like,
Yeah. So like basic. I feel like a lot of them kind of. What's the word? I don't want to say promote, but like, arms are kind of like very prominent in them,
Mhm.
and like
Yes.
they kind of support it. Not support, but like they really show it. Like, really
Mm.
go.
They insinuate that.
Yeah,
mhm.
especially with like the princess and stuff, always being the knight in shining armor.
Yeah,
Having that act.
it's always the same role too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I can name tons of Disney movies from
Yes.
Cinderella to Snow White to Sleeping Beauty where it was the exact same roles.
Yeah.
Like, so for the princesses, for example, you know, they kind of have this weird upbringing or whatever of like, they have like
Yeah.
damsel in distress, like has this horrible lifestyle. They live with horrible people, or they're surrounded by horrible people, or people that just want them dead, you know, stuff like that. And they live like a very like simplistic life or whatever. And then, like, they're always like portrayed in like, you know, dresses. They're feminine. They're like, oh, I can't wait to, like, Cinderella, for example, is like, I want to go to the ball so bad.
Yeah.
And then her stepsisters are like, you're ugly and you're poor. You're not going here.
And not only like, you're talking? I assume you're talking about the original Cinderella.
Yeah.
Because like that can be like taken to like the live action ones that like they take like the original like Cinderella, I guess turn it into a trope.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like the Selena Gomez movies
Mhm.
and like the other movies that follow, and then whatever Sneakerella they got coming out on Disney
Oh,
Plus.
yeah, I forgot about
with
that.
whatever that's thing.
Yeah. But like I want to talk about what that insinuates of just like her happy ending is her being feminine, right? Her happy ending is peak femininity. She's princess. She's wearing
Not
perfection.
only
you know?
that, too, the happy ending is like she gets with a man.
She gets with a man. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I forgot he exists. He's so boring.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to talk about.
But I also wanted to mention, just like that's also very early Disney. How about recent Disney?
I still feel like they kind of still play with that, except like I feel like with the Disney princess thing, they kind of died down on that because you have like examples from like Frozen.
Tangled.
Well, Tangled they get
Moana.
together.
Yeah, Tangled they get together.
What about Moana?
Moana.
That one's a good one.
Yeah.
You see, I never finished Moana. So
They
So
didn't-
Moana
she didn't
and
say
Frozen
it.
are good examples.
Just Kehlani. I know. Come on.
Yeah, Moana didn't get with anyone.
Yeah.
Moana didn't get with anybody. Elsa didn't get with anybody, and you know they're
But Anna
princesses.
did.
Princesses in their own right. Anna did though.
But
Yeah,
Anna did.
like you said.
I mean, she's like dating, you
Yeah,
know,
but,
or
like,
like there-
she
it's clearly implied. You know, she has a love
Yeah, but
interest.
she didn't really seem like a damsel in distress.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Because she was like, I'm gonna do anything for
That's
my
true,
princess.
which is
I'm
it
gonna
shows
die.
progression.
Yeah.
I
Just
think in
progression.
Frozen they did, I guess they kind of made fun of Anna because like she falls in love so
Yeah.
quickly. Like
Hans.
she meets Hans. She's like,
Yeah.
oh my god, he's so pretty and whatever. They dance and then he's like, do you want to get married?
She's like,
And then
yeah.
she's like,
Oh
yeah.
my god.
I
And
think-
then Kristoff later on is like, you're dumb.
Yeah. I think that one wasn't really meant to be making fun of women. It's meant to make fun of the stereotype, but the stereotype is making fun of women. So I think that's
Mhm.
what. So I think that, like specifically in Disney movies, where they are at is okay, but
Mhm.
they could do better, right?
Mhm.
I think one of the ways they could do better is it including more diverse body types. I guess
Yeah.
there's a lot of that, like hourglass figure, things like that. You know, where
Yes,
you know,
Yes, yeah.
Give
Come
us
on.
a thick queen.
give us a thick
Come on,
queen.
come on.
Please. We
Any
need
other
a
ways
thick
that they could improve? Anyone?
Okay.
It depends on what type of Disney movie you're talking about. But I think it applies to both, you know, the ones they premiere in theaters and the ones they premiere at home.
Mhm.
As an avid decom watcher, I mean, like, as much as the trope is toxic, I love it, unfortunately. But,
Boo.
shush. But, like, I think ways they could we need to think of ways that they can improve that isn't also like, well, since we're growing up, we're technically not the audience for it anymore. But
You can
here's
still put
but-
yourself in
yeah,
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but also like they need to improve. Well, I think maybe I don't know if like the process will like start consulting people.
They do. Actually, they did for Moana.
Mhm.
They consulted like people who are actually like experts on that stuff.
Mm.
So, but like,
But like in terms of like gender norms
Ooh,
and
yeah.
like teenagers and kids and preteens like that, like I don't know if they like consult before they do those type of things, but
They
like
usually
they
research.
I kind of want them to like shift. But like shift in a way that's not cringy and just like, oh yeah, feminism.
yeah, like think,
Like kind of like in that.
Diversity.
Well,
women.
if you've seen Avengers Endgame and that one action shot where it's just like all the women.
Yeah,
I don't
No,
remember this
like,
at all.
do you remember like what?
I
I don't
remember it.
It wasn't when. Well, actually, I don't want to give spoilers, but someone was in peril. Some woman was in peril, and then all the women were like, and it's just a singular shot, because they were like, add this because feminism. And
it's like
yeah.
it's like a checkbox, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh, check, got
Yep,
femininity.
got the feminism card.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like another thing where it's just like representation for the sake of like, you know, where they're just like,
Performative.
yeah,
Yeah.
Just like I did what you wanted.
yeah, it's performative acting where they're doing like, hey, look, we have this thing here, so you should, you know,
Yeah.
like us.
It's like, don't hate me. We have, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Look at what we got. Yeah.
Specifically
it's kinda
Disney.
like- I feel like Disney does that a lot, where it's kind of just like, hey, you wanted
Yeah.
Asian representation, here it is.
Yeah.
Like she doesn't get with a man.
Ryan,
oh,
the
like
one-
mic drop. That's the most big thing ever.
It's like
Really
Riot-
changing women
The
history.
kicker is
it was like,
she doesn't have a significant other.
oh
Mic
my
drop.
God. It's
Yeah,
like with
like-
Raya and the Last Dragon kind of thing.
Apparently that movie was awful though.
I kind of liked it because it's, you know, what? I don't want to say the wrong part of Asia, because Asia is a very, very big continent.
Oh yeah.
Filled with tons and tons of different people.
Yeah.
But, East Asian would technically be it, because I think it's, I don't know, East Asian? Or maybe it's a mixed pot. I don't know. I was just said East Asian because, like, I know there's representation for, like, Filipino culture, and that's, East Asia, I think. I don't know. I didn't take a geography class. Don't hate me, please.
I have one more thing. I want to mention, Ali, you said that we're not the target demographic for Disney. Who is the like?
You see, I said that and then I remembered Disney adults.
No. I want to keep in mind that like, so would you assume that
Well,
like
like-
little kids are the target demographic,
well, like-
right?
Well, that's who they assume they're.
Right? But the thing is, they assume that little girls are going to be looking up to these teenagers,
Yeah.
more adult-looking women,
Mhm.
princesses. This ties back to what we were saying back earlier about like little kids looking up to like
Yeah.
adults and think that as like the peak of femininity. I just
Yeah.
wanted to bring that around.
I guess what I really mean by like we're not the target demographic is because like Disney makes those movies with like the mind of like only 12-year-olds are going to watch this.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not like, oh, like a 21-year-old's gonna watch.
Oh, did
No,
you-
no, go ahead.
Okay. Yes, Disney. Also, within video games, especially, I'm a gamer.
Yo. Oh my god, a gamer girl? Oh my god.
So like, really, with women, they always have like stuff and like, it's unnecessary half of the time.
Yeah.
Kind of just like, especially like towards the plot. Yes. I talked with Deja about this.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid.
Metal Gear Solid,
So,
my favorite.
example would be Quiet from the Metal Gear Solid franchise. The way she dresses is like really, I don't know. So
It gets me
I'm
angry.
just gonna describe it. It's like a bikini top, like
I can get it. I can get a photo.
Yeah. It's kind of like a bathing suit kind of.
Pass it around to
Not
the
everyone
class.
can see a photo, so try your best to go without visuals.
She'll show you guys.
Yeah, like kind of
Okay.
like.
So it's like a bikini top or a swimsuit basically, bikini wise, and it's like these like ripped panty stockings. Are they panty stockings?
Yeah, like pantyhose.
Yeah, pantyhose. And then like combat boots. and it's like it doesn't really fit with like the entire theme of the game.
What is the theme of the game for those who don't know? I totally know, 100%.
War.
We totally know.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But war.
Essentially, what
The
the
expert here.
like I guess. Yeah. Hi, I'm Deja Druin. I'm actually the Metal Gear expert.
The Metal Gear expert on site.
Yeah. So theme wise, in terms of outfits,
What?
it will be very military inspired. It's very, yeah.
First of all, if a bullet gets shot at you, you're going to
That's
die.
one of the biggest complaints. That is one of the
Yes.
biggest complaints.
Put
So,
men in that. Put men in that. I dare you.
well, actually, somebody's modded it so that
That'd be fun.
Venom Snake, which is the guy in the game, is in the outfit.
He's the waist to hip ratio guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Waist
okay.
to hip. Yeah. My guy. But here, Kaylin, I don't know if you want me to explain like the characters, the justification. So Hideo Kojima, who is the creator of Metal Gear Solid, stated in an interview that people would feel bad for like being like, "Oh, Quiet's wearing a bikini. That's so unnecessary. That's so stupid." Like, stuff like that. He said it like, you'll feel bad for saying that because there's actually a reason why she wears the bikini.
Yeah.
And the justification for it is that she has like a sci-fi parasite
Parasite.
where it prevents her from breathing orally. So she can't breathe through her mouth, right? Because if she talks, then the parasite gets worse and that she'll die, right?
Mm-hmm.
But so they're like so she breathes through her skin kind of thing. And it's weird. It's very weird. I know, I feel your frustration already. It's very weird. And yes, you can see it. You can definitely see it again. She'll breathe through her skin. But the problem the problem is that there is a character from Metal Gear Solid 3 who I think his name is The End, who has the exact same parasite, but he's a guy.
Yeah.
He's not wearing a bikini.
And he's not wearing a bikini.
He's
He is
clothed,
fully
fully
clothed. He is fully
It
clothed.
makes
And I'm
no
like,
sense.
Are you telling me that she breathes through her pores?
yeah, basically.
This is so, like, bad. This is awful.
So there's a couple of thoughts about this. So a lot of people are just like, when they hear like about like the quiet thing, they're like, that makes no sense kind of thing. And so some people were just like, either Hideo Kojima was just like, really in his like feelings and wanted to add a hot character. But even that, if you wanted to add a hot character, you don't have to just say it. Just say like the hot character.
Just be honest and say that you want. Yeah, just be honest.
Just
Don't
be honest and say
bullshit.
like it was a hot character. But some people have like a couple of fan theories on like why she wears that outfit. So part of it is that people think that it was a purposeful design. So like they did it on purpose to get a reaction out of fans. So they were like, "Oh, Quiet's just like fan service kind of thing." But they showed that she plays a bigger role in the story, and so fans kind of get more attached to her, not because she's attractive, but because she has a legitimate character, which is true. She does have a character. But other than that, go on Reddit. You can find more stuff on this, honestly. But in my opinion, I'm like, there's really no reason. And then also, even if it was for the purpose of being like, hot and sexy, she would die so quickly. There's little to none of like military coverage for her. Like if she walks on that field, she's dying.
Like professional. I'm assuming this is a professional game.
Yeah.
Professionals made this.
Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, Metal Gear Solid 5 is technically not a finished game. But even then, come on. Kojima,
Step it up.
Kojima, from me to you, do better. Please.
Moving in to the good stuff. The good portrayals with gender norms.
Yeah.
Lighting up the mood. So now, question. What do you guys consider as good portrayals and its effects? We're kind of like... Or for both.
Oh, okay.
I did not finish She-Ra, but She-Ra had pretty good representation for men, especially. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Yeah, because it's just like once again, it's a little hard to appreciate good representation when it happens. Because it's supposed to be. Anyways, but I guess the first one that comes to my mind is Luz and Seda from the Owl House, the main character. Do you guys know about that show?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
I know of it.
I'll explain. I don't need to tell you the plot. I could just tell you about Luz. Basically, first of all, she's Dominican.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'd love to see it. And she's also very quirky, and not quirky in like the stereotypical like I'm so quirky, built different, way. But she's like very like weird, but not in the weird way like OMG sparkles and rainbows. That's like very stereotypical of like quirky, females. But she's also weird in the way that she would bring a live snake to like her casual school class. She's like chaos, which this ties into what I was saying earlier about how women aren't allowed to be weird or wacky.
Mm-hmm.
But Luz, like she brings a live snake into class. She'll jump into random things. Like she doesn't think things through. It's very like chaotic, and I love that. It really suits like her character, and it's not chaotic in the way of just like sparkles and rainbows, but it's also just chaotic in the way of just chaos. And I don't know. I kind of like her. She's cool.
Mm-hmm. Good representation. For women.
Or both.
Or both. Okay. I don't know. I can't think. Maybe Sypha from Castlevania might be a good example for women because she's the only woman in that whole group of like Trevor and Alucard, and Sypha, like, not once was like kind of made like. I mean, her and Trevor end up getting together, but it's not like it's like a thing of like, oh, she's like sexually promiscuous and like, like, oh, she wants to like get it on with everybody. Like, she's more of like, I'm trying to just save the world right now because there's vampires infesting it and stuff like that. And Trevor and Sypha getting together is more something that happens. It happened early, but it's something that like was like, it's not like she was not there for the purpose of like, oh, Trevor needs to get with her kind of thing. She served her own purpose. Maybe male representation. I don't. Maybe. Well, in terms of defying, I guess, gender stereotypes, maybe Alucard, because Alucard as a character is very like feminine.
Could you elaborate like on the character? Because I don't know
who
that is. Like
Alucard is a Damphir.
Yeah.
So, half human, half vampire. But I guess what stands out about him is that he's not a very masculine presenting character. He's very feminine looking. Like, he has long blonde hair. His features are very feminine, and the way he like presents himself is like, I mean, I wouldn't say like feminine, but like just like different from the toxic like masculine, like, oh, I'm masculine, I beat people up and all that other stuff. Like, he's like, I have a sword and like I can kill people with it, and that's cool. But I also think what also sets him apart too is like maybe sexuality wise. Alucard is bisexual, so so it kind of shows that like, well, it's debated, I guess, between fans of like whether it was necessary or not to like delineate if he was like, if he should like, whether it was necessary to insinuate that he was bisexual or not. But I guess actually wait, maybe with that one it's debatable because people were just like, we only find out that Alucard is bisexual because of a scene that's in season 3. It's technically a spoiler. But it's a scene where he gets with one guy and one girl.
I hate that scene.
I hate that scene for reasons. I hate
Well-
that scenes for reasons, and if you watch the series, you definitely know why. And so that's kind of like the, I guess, only form that we get of like, oh, Alucard is like bisexual. But I guess it's not like something that like was his main character trait, which is really not supposed to be sexuality wise. It's like not really. It's something that like it comes up, but it's not something supposed to be like main focus, I guess. And then like, yeah, just like as a character, he's pretty cool because like his whole thing is like, not avenging, but trying to fight his father and stuff like that. All right, Kaylani.
I leave this.
Oh, go
Do you have
ahead.
anything to say?
Well, actually, we're talking about good representation, right?
Yeah.
Within
Yes.
media.
Well, it's not really in media. It's just a person who's like in media because, for those of you who don't know, I am in quite the Zendaya stan. I feel like she, like, is a good representation of, I guess, defying gender norms because she does basically everything. And I talked about this in one of my projects, but like, she wears many hats. Like, not only is she an actor, but you know, she's a designer, she's a fashion icon, she sings, which I'm hoping she gets back to. She sort of dances, and like, oh, and she also produces because of Euphoria and stuff. And those are like more male-dominated roles. And she's kind of like, well, she's not the only woman doing this, but like she's like kind of breaking that barrier of like, oh, only guys do this and only guys do that.
Mm-hmm.
And also like within fashion as well, because you know not everyone is showing up to awards, not every woman is showing up to awards in a skirt, and not every man is showing up in a suit. Like, things are switching.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about my queen, Bayonetta.
Yeah.
She, I feel, is with like a good representation of having like a sexy character in her whole character design. At first people are like, oh, she's her body or something, like the way she dresses. Well, not really, but like they just see her as some like sexual type of woman. But that is not the case at all. She defies being like that sexual object, and you can tell with her character, and when you play the game, by her like confidence, her attitude. She how do I say it? She takes ownership of it. She uses it as to her advantage, of course. So she's gonna flaunt it, of course. She's confident in it, and like she's kind of like a camp type of character, basically. Also, with like the creators, they really took into consideration when making her character design, because he usually made like male lead characters, and so when making a female character, he wanted to like get women's perspective and like have that good representation of women, since he never worked with female lead characters before. So, what else? Yeah, this wonderful designer. She's one of my big inspirations with how she designs characters. He gave her like very few little details about her, so and she just like she had full control over it. So she was designed by a woman designer, which is also, I feel like, a really good thing about that.
I did not know that. Wow.
Diversity win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really love her. Her attitude, her design, how she acts, what she does. She's powerful. A whole bunch of stuff.
I admire the power.
Yeah, I know her.
Strong, confident, independent women. Why gender norms should be portrayed correctly and its effects. So, by having gender norms portrayed in better ways, people feel more accepted, or more accepted, like fully seen within the media and stuff like that. It brings a more positive atmosphere within media, and to see like all these more hopeful changes within them as well. You get to see the different ways that gender could be portrayed, and how there's like no certain way to be a girl or boy, man, women, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and that is.
That's all your notes? Wow. I
Deja.
I'm sorry. I'm like not trying to call you out or anything, but I remember seeing like bad representation for men in one of them, and I was like, that one is such a good example of like bad representation.
Is that the blonde man?
The blonde
He's
man
the
with the
big-
sunglasses.
Okay.
He's
Yeah.
like,
I know. Okay, I'm saying this from the heart. I know a lot of people love Johnny Bravo, and quite frankly, I do too. It was a cartoon I grew up watching a lot. But you cannot deny Johnny Bravo was a freaking predator.
Oh, yeah.
Hobby was like.
There's actually an episode where he actually gets turned into a woman, and like he gets a bit of perspective and he learns a bit more about about
Yeah.
it. But at the end, he turns back into, you know. I feel like if there was a closing thoughts. If there was a Johnny Bravo reboot, he would have to be turned into a himbo. Just saying.
My
Yeah.
favorite himbo.
Yeah. Anyways, that's my closing thoughts. Johnny Bravo himbo.
I wish we honestly had more time to talk about these things. That would be so nice and fun. But you know, senior projects don't really allow that. Yeah, closing thoughts. This was a really great podcast episode. Thank you for everybody who is listening to this podcast right now. We really appreciate this, especially during such a stressful time. And you know, it's May. Very stressful time. We will be back very soon.
With the next episode.
With the next
With the
episode,
next
Marion's
with
episode.
Marion! Oh yeah, God.
Yeah.
Oh, right, this is me.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah, Marion's episode is coming up very soon. Watch
One
out for that.
day.
Thank you. We'll be here.
Waggy episode.
Yay! Thank you,
Kaylani.
Kehlani. You did great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Like,
boss
I could've done
Kaylani.
better, but anyways.
It's okay.
You did great. You did
I
great.
honestly think as a first episode, this was really great.
Oh yeah.
We're kind of getting the vibe of what we should do in our future episodes, and I cannot wait to produce more.
Ellie, do you have anything else to say?
On Instagram?
We're gonna have an Instagram.
Yeah, we're gonna make an Instagram and then
Follow us on TikTok.
doing TikTok dances before the recording.